everyone, and welcome to my channel, Recultured. Glad that you're here. The topics I like to talk about all have to do with culture and how Christians should live in this culture, how they should react to the culture. And one of the things that influenced me greatly coming up through seminary was how does Christ relate to culture? And there was a book by Richard Niebuhr, and this little article here kind of summarizes what it talks about there. You've got 5 different views that Richard Niebuhr offered in his book, Christ and Culture. And it talks about how Christians react to culture. Sometimes there's Christ against culture, which is this idea that Christ against culture occupies one extreme of the continuum. All expressions of culture outside the church are viewed with a high degree of suspicion as irreparably corrupted by sin, and they are to be withdrawn from and avoided as much as possible. So there's this tendency in Christians to reject culture and to move away from it, and some even became ascetic, so to speak. They became monks and withdrew from culture. Sometimes there was closed societies that happened. I don't think that that's really the answer to the cultural situation. Another view that he talked about was the Christ of culture, and it's a polar opposite from the previous one. Cultural expressions as a whole are accepted uncritically and celebrated as a good thing. In theory, little or no conflict is seen between culture and Christian truth, and in practice the latter is compromised to accommodate the former. And so that's another problem that we have today, is that the church has become too accepting of culture. That they look at it uncritically. They don't recognize the idea of how society fell in the garden in Adam and Eve, and how all society was corrupt. Even though it was intended to be good when God made it and perfect, society has just collapsed and turned away from God in a wholesale way. But for us to completely reject culture is to reject the truth of God, that He did make this world, and He did originally make it to be good. And the question is, how, really for us should be, how can we make it good again? And I don't just mean good in the sense of being righteous, although that is important, but just good in general. And so I tend to hold on to the last view here, Christ, the transformer of culture. Christ, the transformer of culture, is yet another medial alternative. It also recognizes human culture as initially good and subsequently corrupted by the fall. But since Christ is redeeming of all creation, the Christian can and should work to transform the culture to the glory of God. And that's where I stand on this view here, that we need to transform the culture for the glory of God. And that means, as a believer, just connecting with people, connecting with the culture, connecting with the things that are in our culture, and seeing how we can redeem it. How can we make it better? How can we turn it for the good? How can we turn it to the glory of God? And that there are many Christian believers who engaged in the culture and were able to bring about great revivals and things like that, that even affected things like art and movies and literature and those kinds of things. Our culture is becoming increasingly corrupted by whatever evil you can think of right now, and nobody knows how to, it seems like, to write a good story, or write hero stories, or write characters that are heroes, or to show how a person can sacrifice themselves. I mean, Christ's story is the greatest hero story of all time, of how He sacrificed His own life for the whole world. So anyway, that's the gist of my channel here, and I hope that you come and enjoy some of these videos that I put out, and I hope that you are blessed today. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in another video.